Hi. I wanted to talk a little about the conscious and subconscious mind again today in a little more detail. Um, the Using the analogy of an iceberg, it could be said that the tiny portion of it that's above water is equivalent to our conscious mind. Um, as I had mentioned recently, the conscious mind has its limits. Its purpose is to get us through our day to day activities using its limited memory when necessary and to ground us to this reality in which we live. How many times have you walked into a room and completely forgotten why you walked into that room? It may come to you after you leave the room, or maybe a few minutes later, an hour later, you'll suddenly remember why. But this is the fault of the not so perfect conscious memory. More often than not, people are running on automatic pilot. They're going through the motions, but they're not really there. This is looked upon as being asleep by a number of philosophies and schools of thought. Um, and despite the fact that we're driving a car, doing some repetitive task, uh, either at work or at home, we're just not focused on anything in particular. To be awake, aware, and focused is the goal of many schools of thought and philosophies, including Zen, Taoism, and others, most of which have their origins in the East and not here in the West. The conscious mind is the home of the ego. The ego is a self created sense of who we are, the self that we present to the world as us. The ego is a highly inflated thing and about as fragile as brittle glass. It does not take much to upset the ego. Something as simple as being contradicted, being told outright that one is a liar, something like that, could set the ego off in a frenzy of resentment, anger, hatred, depression, intolerance, and even in some cases, the urge to kill. I'm sure we've all seen on the news where someone killed someone else because that someone else had dissed them or looked at them the wrong way. Um, the ego can be a time bomb, just waiting for the right circumstances to set it off. The subconscious, on the other hand, lies below the surface of the ego's nonsense, and it continuously processes and gathers information on its own, independent of the ego, and is representative of our true selves. It contains everything we have ever done, or been, or said, or experienced. It does not interfere with the conscious mind or the goings on of the ego, except on those rare occasions when we ask it for help, as I had mentioned in the last video. The subconscious can be tapped into directly through a number of means, dreams being one of them. It's a direct connection we can make with it, but we have no control over how or where that connection will lead. Hypnosis is another means. I became a certified hypnotherapist in 1989. I initially looked into hypnotism and hypnotherapy for my own purposes, as part of my own journey to discover what I was and who I was. Although I have used it successfully on others who were seeking answers to certain questions that their conscious mind just couldn't deliver. And also, as I've mentioned previously, the hypnotherapist has no special powers, and that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. The hypnotherapist has been trained to relax people to a profound point where the conscious mind and the ego will step aside and give the hypnotherapist direct access to that person's subconscious. The person undergoing hypnosis is completely aware of what's going on and can come out of the deepened state of relaxation at any time. The hypnotherapist, once having reached that stage of deep relaxation, can then ask questions of the person's subconscious about certain events, try to determine the origin of phobias, or why that person is feeling the way that they're feeling if they don't understand it. The subconscious will provide the information, having no ego to hide facts or experiences, and is quite aware that there is an outside influence which is questioning it. Now, the subconscious may on occasion withhold information, knowing that it could be potentially harmful to the person to which it belongs. This is why it may require a number of sessions with a hypnotherapist before the subconscious will reveal certain information. It needs to trust that the hypnotherapist has no intention of harming the individual to which it belongs. The hypnotherapist must tread very lightly at first in order to gain this trust. But once it's gained, the subconscious will become more cooperative in releasing information of an intimate or personal nature. This actually went on for a little bit longer than I had expected. I want to talk in my next video about the steps involved in reaching that profound state of relaxation where you have direct connection with your subconscious. Anyone can learn how to do this. Again, this is the only difference between a hypnotherapist and a non-hypnotherapist is that a hypnotherapist has been trained to get a person into that stage, and the steps involved are quite simple, but they just need to be done correctly. And again, this is the basis of self-hypnosis. Once a person reaches that stage, they can then make suggestions to themselves, which are then processed by the subconscious, and may or may not produce results. It depends upon the intensity of the request, the seriousness, with which a person takes it, and a number of other factors. But we'll talk about that next time. Until then, have a very good day.